Before we begin, I want you to think about one question. Have you ever met someone who seemed kind at first, but slowly drained your confidence, your peace, and your energy? What if I told you that wasn't an accident? Toxic people don't choose their victims randomly. They study people. They test boundaries. They look for emotional patterns most of us don't even realize we're showing. And the scary part? You could be sending these signals without saying a single word. In the next few minutes, you'll discover the 5 hidden signs toxic people look for before they decide to manipulate someone. Once you understand these psychological patterns, you'll start seeing people differently. And you'll know exactly how to protect your confidence, your peace, and your personal power. Stay with me until the end, because the 5th sign is the one almost everyone misses. Yet it's the biggest reason toxic people lose control over someone forever. 1. They test your boundaries before they show their true face. Here's something most people never notice. Toxic people almost never begin with obvious disrespect. If they did, you'd walk away immediately. Instead, they start with tiny tests that seem too small to question. Maybe they interrupt you while you're speaking. Maybe they forget to return something they borrowed. Maybe they make a hurtful joke and quickly say, "Relax, I was only kidding." These moments aren't accidents. They're silent experiments. Imagine someone gently pushing on a locked door. They aren't trying to break it. They're simply checking if it's unlocked. That's exactly how toxic people test your boundaries. Take Sarah, for example. During her first week at a new job, a coworker kept asking for small favors. She wanted everyone to like her, so she always smiled and said yes. Within a month, those favors became expectations, and Sarah was carrying work that wasn't even hers. The same thing happens in friendships and relationships. Every time you ignore disrespect to avoid conflict, you silently teach people what you'll tolerate. Real confidence isn't arguing or proving a point. It's calmly saying, "That doesn't work for me." Healthy people respect that. Toxic people resist it because they were never looking for equality. They were looking for easy access. Remember this: every time you protect your boundaries, you protect your peace. The people who truly value you will never ask you to sacrifice one for the other. 2. They look for people who need validation. Imagine meeting someone new. Within minutes, they shower you with compliments. "You're different. I've never met anyone like you. I feel like I've known you forever." It feels amazing, but sometimes it isn't kindness. It's a test. Toxic people pay close attention to how much your mood depends on their approval. If one compliment changes your entire day, they know their words have power over you. Then the game changes. The compliments become less frequent. The criticism slowly increases. Now you're working hard just to earn back the praise they gave you so freely at the beginning. Without realizing it, you've become emotionally dependent. Think about someone at work who constantly seeks their boss's approval. They say yes to every request, even when they're exhausted, because they're afraid of disappointing someone. A toxic boss quickly notices this pattern and keeps asking for more. Confident people appreciate compliments. Insecure people depend on them. That's the difference. When your self-worth comes from within, manipulation loses its grip. Silence becomes your strength because you no longer feel the need to prove yourself or chase someone's approval. The moment you stop needing validation from everyone, you become much harder to control. 3. They watch how you react to disrespect. Here's something toxic people understand better than most. Your first reaction predicts your future behavior. That's why they rarely begin with obvious cruelty. Instead, they slip in small moments of disrespect. They interrupt you while you're speaking. They make a sarcastic joke at your expense. They ignore your opinion in front of others. Then they watch, not your words, your reaction. Do you laugh it off? Do you apologize even though you did nothing wrong? Do you stay silent because you don't want to create tension? Every time you ignore disrespect to keep the peace, you send a message without saying a single word. I will tolerate this. And toxic people hear that message loud and clear. Imagine a friend who constantly teases you in front of the group. The first time, everyone laughs. You force a smile, even though it stings. A week later, they do it again. Then again. Soon, disrespect becomes part of the relationship because it was never challenged. Now imagine a different response. You stay calm. You don't argue. You simply say, I'm not okay with jokes like that. No anger, no shouting, just confidence. Something interesting happens. Healthy people usually apologize. Toxic people often become defensive. They may say you're too sensitive or accuse you of overreacting. That's because they were counting on your silence. Real confidence isn't proving you're stronger than everyone else. It's refusing to accept behavior that weakens your self-respect. The people who deserve a place in your life won't fear your boundaries. Only the people who plan to cross them will. 4. They target people who are afraid of being alone. One of the greatest weapons a toxic person can use isn't fear, it's loneliness. They know that someone who fears being alone will often accept treatment they would never accept otherwise. That's why toxic people don't always control you with anger. Sometimes they control you with the threat of leaving. Imagine a relationship where every disagreement ends the same way. Maybe we should stop talking. Fine, I'll just disappear. You'll never find someone who understands you like I do. These words aren't always honest. They're designed to create panic. When fear takes over, clear thinking disappears. Instead of asking, am I being treated with respect? You start asking, how do I keep this person from leaving? That's the trap. Picture someone who stays in an unhealthy friendship because they've known each other for years. Deep down, they know the friendship has become one-sided, but the thought of starting over feels more painful than staying. So, they tolerate the disrespect, not because they deserve it, because they're afraid of emptiness. Emotionally healthy people understand something powerful. Being alone is uncomfortable. Being controlled is far worse. When you become comfortable with your own company, something changes. You stop begging for attention. You stop chasing people who pull away. You stop confusing attachment with love. Silence no longer feels like rejection. It feels like peace. And that's exactly what toxic people can't control. Because the person who isn't afraid to walk away can never be trapped by someone threatening to leave. 5. They avoid people who stay calm under pressure. The final thing toxic people look for is emotional reactions. Drama is their fuel. If they can make you angry, defensive, or desperate, they feel in control. That's why they may ignore your messages, twist your words, or provoke you over small things. They're not looking for a solution. They're looking for a reaction. Now imagine two people facing the same insult. One explodes with anger. The other pauses, stays silent, and simply says, I don't accept being spoken to that way. Who seems easier to manipulate? The calm one doesn't give toxic people the emotional payoff they're seeking. Silence isn't weakness, it's emotional control. And emotional control is real power. The moment you stop reacting to every provocation, toxic people realize they've lost their influence. Because the hardest person to manipulate isn't the loudest person in the room. It's the one who has learned to master themselves first. If this video taught you something, remember this. Toxic people don't choose victims by accident. They choose the people who are easiest to control. But every boundary you set, every calm response you give, and every moment you choose self-respect over approval makes you a harder target. You don't need to become cold. You don't need to become cruel. You simply need to value your peace more than other people's opinions. That's where real confidence begins. If this message helped you see people differently, subscribe for more videos on psychology, confidence, emotional strength, and social intelligence. Until next time, protect your peace.